Hey everybody, welcome to the IWCA show. This is your host Gabriel Gutierrez. We are happy to talk with Michael Draper of Expert Safety Services. How you doing, Mr. Mike?
Hey, pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, doing pretty good. Pretty good. Just
Good.
getting ready for the upcoming safety training at the huge convention. That's why we wanted to have you on. I think a lot of people, we've been promoting it and I think they're hearing it, but we wanted to get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty as to what's going to be happening there and why someone, for instance, a single owner operator, it might be worth their time and their money to make the trip out to the huge just to take some of these classes. So, first off, so the big thing is these are free, right? How are we
Yeah.
offering free safety classes? That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, we like to we throw the word free around, but it's not free.
That's right.
The sponsors have basically offset the cost of that because there is a food and beverage minimum, there is room
Hmm.
costs, there's things like that that take place. And so even though, we're offering it free, certainly the sponsors deserve some credit because it does cost them.
Yeah.
But to the contractor, that's a wonderful thing. So basically, the sponsors have offset that cost. And really, to an owner operator, it's maybe even a bigger deal than a larger company. A larger company has budget for those types of things,
Yes.
and they're going to spend and allocate money for that. But somebody that doesn't, maybe only has a few employees or maybe no employees, but still wants to wrap their heads around, being safe,
Hmm.
this is an excellent way to do it. I mean, they get to come free. Not only is the class free to them, but also, they're going to get lunch. They're going to get a couple breakouts, and so it's an incredible value, especially if you're going
Yes.
to the huge already.
For sure, for sure. I think you make a really good point. I remember the first time I met you. You had a training in Phoenix. This is like back in 2017, I think. And I had two of my guys. We drove up. I'm in Tucson, Arizona, which is about an hour and a half south of Phoenix. And we drove up specifically to get your training. I got to meet you. And since then we've run into each other so many times after that. But I remember thinking because I by that time I had been in business about 18 years. And I just started thinking more seriously about, hey, we're up on ladders, we're doing things that others might consider unsafe, just in everyday action. So why don't we learn to do it safely? So that's who we're trying to reach now with these trainings. We definitely want to have that single owner operator who maybe is a little unsure about, well, is it worth the trip? Is it worth the expense? So, what are some reasons why someone like that would want to invest the time and money to go to a trip like this and to take these types of safety classes?
Yeah, I think overall the industry has a pretty low barrier to entry, right? It doesn't cost them thousands and thousands of dollars to enter into the industry. With that, though, nor does it require in some places licensing or anything else. You're just in the
Yes.
industry.
Right.
But with that, though, comes a certain measure of um, just inexperience overall when it comes to safe practices. And
Yeah.
so, I think that these classes, I mean, we've done them for years now, and specifically the 1910. And I don't think anybody leaves there and thinks, well, that sucked. I think it really kind of, one, we don't do a lot of fluff safety in that.
Yeah.
It's really targeted towards pressure washers and window cleaners. It's not like an OSHA 30 or an OSHA 10 where it's just all kinds of random stuff. And that this is very practical. I mean, we'll be looking at window cleaners and pressure washers and that in real world environments that, and we just analyze it and say, could this be safer? The other thing is, while we talk a lot about compliance with authorities having jurisdiction, whether it be OSHA or ANSI or whatever the case may be, um, those are fine. And I mean, there's certainly a piece of business that encompasses that, especially if you have employees.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, what my overall goal is always is not necessarily to point out where you're making infractions when it comes to OSHA, but rather are we having a mindset where we're going to be safe?
Yeah.
And a lot of window cleaners have been hurt on ladders, and so really it's just an overall awareness of our industry, makes the industry better, whether we want to believe so or not. I mean, we are a collective um, body and concern when it comes to insurance exposures and things like that. And so keeping those down as an industry is really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the tendency is to think, oh, I don't want to, get fined for whatever. I don't want to, get in trouble with this authority, like you said. But the bottom line is we want to get home to our families, right? We want to be able to come home safe and sound, make money the next day, make money for the years to come. And if we're acting in a way that's unsafe, whether we know it or not, we're reducing that risk that we have that longevity in our career. And especially if you're a single owner operator, right? If you fall down or injure yourself, you're not working. You don't have anyone to come in and take your route. You don't have anyone to continue the business. So you can really hurt your family long term. And then worst case scenario, you die. And how does that affect a family, right? Just devastates the loss of a loved one when that happens. So there's a lot more factors involved, and I think that sometimes when we're the small guy, like I said, like I was for so many years, you don't think out that far out, or you don't think about the potential consequences because you're just like, well, it's just me. Who was it going to hurt? And really, those are some serious things to consider. Um,
Yeah, and think about this. I know just this year, I've supported several GoFundMe's where
yes,
window cleaners have gotten injured. And so when you say, well, the owner operator, they don't need to worry about these things, really, because I don't see any GoFundMe's when it's a big
right.
company.
That's right.
I only see the GoFundMe's when it's the little guy, right? And so it does impact you. It can have a serious impact on your family, your finances, everything else. And so maybe even more than a big company, smaller companies need to take advantage of this and just look at things and hey, if you're doing everything safely, great. If you can make some changes, then make them.
Exactly. Now you mentioned one of the lessons or the sessions you're going to have is on OSHA 1910. Could you explain? You mentioned how that's specifically for window cleaners, pressure washers. For someone who maybe has never heard of the term or maybe doesn't know that much about OSHA, what exactly is that course and what are some things that are going to be covered in it?
Yeah. So the OSHA 1910 is basically the general industry standard, and that's where window cleaning operates, right? So if OSHA was to come out and cite someone, they would do it under the 1910 clause or standard. And so it's that's not my standard. You can go right on OSHA.gov and look at that standard and see the things that would be applicable.
Mhm.
So what I did is when I wrote that class, and I don't remember how many years it's been now since we wrote that, but what we did is again, I don't really believe in a lot of fluff safety. I want it to be very applicable to what the operators are doing. And so I went through OSHA 1910 myself and said, here are the subsections that specifically apply to a window cleaning operation. So ladders are covered, and and not in just in a general form. We talk about stacks. We talk about all the different types of ladders that would be utilized. We talk about fall protection because window cleaners have to get up, so that certainly applies. So ladders and fall protection, but then we go a little deeper dive. We say, well, there's electrical hazards. We have electrical hazards with solar. We have electrical hazards with the water fed pole, and so we look at those things. And then also from the pressure washing standpoint, where are our hazards? Well, we have chemical hazards. We may have just hearing protection hazards. So what we did is we dissected the subsections that specifically correspond with window cleaning and pressure washer operations. And then rather than just skim over a whole broad range of things like OSHA 10 or 30 does, we deep dive into the subsections that matter to us.
Yes. Very good, very good. Now, OSHA 1910 isn't the only course that's going to be taught at the huge convention. And oh, I should also mention, so the huge convention, it's going to be in Nashville from August 20th through 22nd. So we want to make sure those dates are out there. Um, so you also are going to cover drone safety, and I thought that was interesting. I don't think I've ever taken a drone safety class. Of course, I don't really use a drone, but I can definitely see the usage in certain areas. So what are some things that might be covered in that?
Yeah, so in the drone safety, the thing that we're gonna really focus in on, and I generally do this in most of my classes anyway. I really try to hone in on site safety, right? Okay, you've decided that you're going to clean with a drone. Okay, what are the things that you need to be aware of then? What can go wrong? What are the safety precautions? What does the site need to look like? Just all of those types of things. And to be honest, I've seen some of these demos and things that have happened at different shows, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what happens if this happens? Or, we
Yeah.
were at one time and cars were going right through. The drone was fine, but the cars were going right through all the onlookers of the drone. I mean, right through them. And so
Wow.
it's like, these are the types of things that we have to think about. And there have been serious injury in the pressure washing industry with drones. There's been a sever of a hand. So
Oh,
things can go wrong. We've seen, in Orlando last year, not a cleaning incident, but we've seen, one of the light drones kind of go rogue, and it killed somebody. It killed a young person that was there watching this light show. So again, what's the crash plan? What happens if it does, something does happen? And let's face it, these drones that the guys are and I'm not anti-drone by any stretch of the imagination, but these are not DJI drones you're picking up at Best Buy. These are
right,
flying chainsaws,
right.
right? And so there is precautions that need to be taken. And so it's just they're becoming more popular. People are looking at them for different applications, specifically in the pressure washing industry because they're great chemical applicators. We can have arguments about cleaning all you want, but they're definitely good chemical applicators. And so, just what does site safety need to look like if I'm pursuing that type of thing? We only got an hour for that class, and
Yeah.
so, but it's really just a high level overview of, what would safety look like if I wanted to operate a drone.
Got it. Got it. Very good. One other one that kind of caught my eye too was the solar site safety. Just recently, it was posted on the ISCA page about the first death of a person who was cleaning the solar panels in Pakistan. And we've been talking about it for a while, and I think the biggest argument against solar safety, or at least worrying about it, was, well, we haven't had any deaths, but we now have a confirmed death from that. And unfortunately, we want that number to stay low, but we knew it was going to happen, right? And so what are some things that are going to be standouts in that solar site safety class that really people who clean solar panels have to know?
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a JHA approach to that class. Again, it's a very shortened version of the class. I think we've got a couple hours, but we're going to basically look at solar cleaning from the three different aspects, one being residential, commercial, and then, what called solar farms, utility scale, whatever, and really look at it and say, if we're going to do this work, are we prepared, with safety? And the thing that always comes up is PPE, or what are we? But you know the hierarchy of controls of safety, PPE is at the very bottom of that triangle. And I know why we defer to PPE oftentimes in solar, and there's actually a really good reason residentially, but and we'll cover that in the class. But I really to be responsible, I think we have to look at safety from a wider lens, and not just to defer to PPE, because look, things can go wrong with PPE.
Yeah.
You got a hole in the glove that you're wearing, and there's an electrocution, it'll go right through that hole. So things can go wrong with PPE. So have we had the forethought and just the vision of the overall site, and know what could go wrong, and then we're planning appropriately? And so that's really what we're going to focus on there. We're gonna really look at that, and we're going to build a JHA in that class,
Nice.
and I'm looking forward to that. So there's all kinds of hazards, really, when you think about solar. And the one thing that's really unique with solar is, at this point in time, anyway, we don't follow, or I shouldn't say we. I don't clean. They don't follow electrical protocol for the way OSHA lays it out. OSHA lays it out and says, that you have to go to a lockout tagout sequence if you're going to work on electrical equipment. And the only exception to that would be, inspection, or lost my train of thought there. But yeah, so when we're diagnosing, right? Sometimes there has to be power when you're diagnosing. So they don't follow that in solar. It's a live unit, and we're throwing water at it. There's an electrical hazard there. There's a carbon fiber hazard with water fed poles. And so we just need to think. And I was hoping that we would never have a death in the solar industry. That death that was reported, was a grounding issue. sounds like in Pakistan, where they don't ground. In the US, it's not that way. Nonetheless, somebody's dead. And so, if nothing else, it creates an awareness. And because, Gabe, I was around when the whole transformation from water fed happened, right? And so that was to eliminate hazards. It was we were going to give everybody a water fed pole so that you eliminated ladder and at height work. However, the injustice done to the industry was that there was no education on electrical hazards.
Yes.
And to right now, I mean, we're having more electrocutions a year than we do, rope work or what have you, with the exception of 2023. And that's a tragedy. And so that's really my goal with solar. I'm not a solar cleaner. There's a lot better guys out there that are solar cleaning experts than me by far. But so far as site safety, I think I got a pretty good handle on what site safety needs to look like, regardless of what the operation is.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what we're going to focus on in that class is really just widen the lens. There's a lot of guys that don't have a clue. I mean, I see them all the time. They're standing on panels and they don't have any PPE on, and they don't have a clue that there's a hazard there. That's what I want to try to eliminate is get those guys educated.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like there's going to be a lot of really valuable information. One other thing we want to highlight is you don't have to have a ticket to the huge convention to attend these classes. You can just go to attend the classes. Now, if you want to add value to your trip and buy a ticket, if you're an IWCA member, you get $50 off of that huge ticket, and you can go see all the vendors and you can go, take the classes and stuff there. But if you've been wanting to have safety training and it's something that's been on your mind and you've been putting it off, this is a huge opportunity, pun intended. This is a huge opportunity to be able to get the training that you need for your workers, for yourself if you're a single owner operator. And like we just covered, this information is it's vital for the people who are working in the field. If you're a window cleaner, if you're on a ladder, if you're using a water fed pole, you're going to run into dangers. So get yourself trained, be a smart person. You're never going to have 100% protection on anything. There's always some risk, but you want to minimize that risk as much as possible. So thanks so much for putting these classes together, Mike. I look forward to seeing you at the Huge.
Yeah, sounds good. I appreciate having me on, and yeah, we'll look forward to seeing it. It's coming up quick.
Yeah, awesome. And thank you guys. I hope to see you there. If you are there, IWCA will have a booth there. Come and say hi. And if you're not a member of the IWCA and you're making the trip, consider joining us. You'll be able to have access to a lot of different trainings, not just safety, but other things to help your business run well. So you guys take care. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you next time.
See you later.